Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to another matchup here in the Sonic Adventure 2 Hero Story Tournament. Today we have got jrk versus Dawarfmaster for jrk's debut in this year's tournament and Dawarfmaster's third match. One of these runners, jrk, will be looking to get off to a winning start. Dwarf will be looking to claim his first win. I am here on comms with Liam Dunn. How are you doing, my friend?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. You know, I've had a little bit of warm-up on comms. We watched those two exhibition matches earlier. Obviously now we've got, I believe, what's our first actual tournament match of the day. So it's good to see us getting into the swing of things now. Yeah, so this match is going to be an interesting one. jrk is the firm favorite here out of the two. I'm wondering when we're going to start getting ready. I think we just want to wait a little bit to get the build-up going. But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of these kind of matches where one sort of runner is the firm favourite, how do you sort of feel about going in? What do you think what do you think will be going through both runners' heads?
Well, we've definitely seen some really strong Knuckles from Dwarf, and his leaderboard times absolutely reflect that. So we're hoping to see a lot of awesome Knuckles movement from Dwarf, and hopefully he's shaped up some of his minor optimization in the other stages. As far as jrk, yeah. I'm very much in the dark. I'm just hearing that he is an older runner coming back, and oh, it looks like they're starting. All right, let's go.
We are, in fact, underway. Good to see. But yeah, I completely agree. You know, Dwarf won't be under any illusions here. He'll know for a fact that he has it all to do if he's going to claim a victory. He needs to be at his best. But I think the best thing for him, the best approach will be just going out there and doing just that, doing his best. Not being too intimidated at the prospect and seeing how well it goes. We're seeing a little bit of time loss immediately as he collides with that car, unfortunate for Dwarf.
You hate to see the car NG in this stage.
Yeah, it happens from time to time, certainly. You know, sometimes they just show up in the worst possible locations. It can do some damage. But we're coming up, of course, on the first big section of any run. jrk firmly approaching now, and yet a nice jump, and well,
that's all right.
There we go. Not pulling any punches here in this race is jrk as he hits a clean, very clean, pauseless CE skip, and already opens up a big gap between him and his opponent.
Any gamers in chat?
Any gamers in chat? We'd love to see them. But here we go. Dwarf in hot pursuit now as jrk coming out. Very, very solid start, you know.
Ooh, that little lip on the gate. Oof.
Yeah, okay, sticking these spin dashes, he's going to come out with a very, very clean time in City Escape here. I think looking like a 125. Fantastic stuff. You know, as we say, he's an older runner. He's been out of the game for a little while, but where's the rust?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Not quite yet, no. Good start. Dwarf not doing bad by his own standards either on the other screen, coming through with a decent looking skipless City Escape. And yeah, well, here we go, as he gets onto that monkey bar there, falling down now. Well, this is just exactly what we were talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
It's definitely a lot better than hitting that Eefmar pit, for sure.
If you had to choose, I'm sure nobody is going to take any potential Eefmar pit if they're given any other option. But yeah, here we go. So this is pretty much exactly what we're talking about. Oh, hello! Dwarf, missed there, or rather jrk, missing out there, losing a little bit of time in Bigfoot, yeah.
Did a really good job of keep away from that box, not breaking to the last moment, thankfully.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Again, another good thing to have is, of course, backup strats in these race scenarios. You don't want to see anybody failing one thing and then being completely in the dark as to what they should do instead. Good to have versatility under your belt.
Absolutely. Dwarf finishes up with the 226 as we see the first RNG stage of the game for jrk.
Wild Canyon here on the pillar, piece 1. Not terrible at all. See how well this plays out with this set. Suspended ceiling piece 2. Could have been better. We should make this work.
Nice platforming from jrk.
Ooh, spoke too soon. Commentator's curse there, striking early on. Hopefully not a sign of things to come. And Scary Eyes would be his piece 3, so not the most favorable RNG, having to basically travel the whole stage.
The Dwarf missing the back box strat, lands on it, but just falls off for a second before Bigfoot's about to attack, and oh, that's going to lose him some time.
Yeah, this isn't looking too great for Dwarf in this first boss fight here. He's going to want to make sure that at least one of these boxes stays standing. Otherwise, he could be in here for a longer period of time than he's going to want to be. Taking a little bit of damage there as well. Really struggling in Bigfoot here as Dwarf. Just needs one more hit, and he is out. But jrk really stretching that lead. And yeah, there we go. So we see him getting out of Bigfoot with a 323 on the timer. jrk already into prison lane with 242. All to do for Dwarf. At this point, well, here we go. This is what we were talking about before. We're going to be interesting to see how well Dwarf's Knuckles skill can carry him through this race. He gets near the 6 balls piece 1. And King here making his way over towards this next section. And a free piece 2. Hello, this is interesting. I assume that's going to be this raw boss piece. No, in fact, it's... I'm not sure. Would have wanted to probably get that hint a bit earlier. Unfortunately, they're missing out on putting a fantastic time based on his RNG there. Opting to check a lot of pieces, which just didn't work out. We're seeing jrk just cruising through prison lane now. Nice movement here with a 40 elevator entry. Yeah, well, I mean, what to say thus far, you know? Of course, we're seeing pretty much what we expected. Dwarf not being left behind in jrk's dust, though. You know, it's always going to be interesting to see if there's any opportunities for Dwarf as the race goes on. Looks like we're getting some maintenance here from our tech team behind the scenes. As Dwarf's, or rather jrk's timer. Going to have to keep in mind that jrk's timer will in fact overlap just based on how large he has. Or rather, maybe on our end, I'm not quite sure, but basically jrk will have an extra digit, whether it's 1 or 4 as the race goes on. For now, it is just a 4, but as soon as that overlaps, we'll let you know. Yeah, some nice movement there, coming out of prison lane with 141.
Ooh, that little mini elevator skip is a little tricky to pull off sometimes.
Yeah, it can cause some problems. Obviously, worst case scenario, you fall all the way down into the pit and lose around about 20 seconds, which is not what you want to see. Thankfully, that didn't happen there for Dwarf, but not able to get the fence hop either. So how much do you feel an advantage of this? Just obviously, I know we were talking about the rust, but just the experience that jrk is going to have over someone like Dawarfmaster here. You know, it always comes down to, you know, the more time you put in, the more effort you put into learning what you need to. That is going to be the difference maker. If that... Ooh! Well, there we go. That's going to be what's the difference maker.
Little things like that, you know, the difference between a spin dash hover and a spin dash jump is the amount of frames in between the two inputs, right? Just need like 1 or 2, so...
Well, it's a matter of holding down the A button as well to get that extra height as you spin dash off the surface. But jrk there, that is the thing that Dwarf is going to need. You know, if he wants to keep this race tight, if he wants to stay in there, he's going to need jrk to make as many of those as possible. But yeah, you know, I mean, that's the thing that I was saying, you know. Dwarf needs to play better than he ever has to get the win here, I think. Which is a really, really tough ask for him. But I think his mind would be more also on just getting out there and showing a good performance, which he's not doing so badly so far. I was seeing jrk come up on the missile skip section. Does get it first try. Nicely done.
Very strong rocket skip indeed.
And Dwarf now will load into the same stage that jrk is making his way towards the end of Metal Harbor. Should be perhaps just an opportunity to close that gap. We'll see how well he executes it. Just based on that early death for jrk, he does come out nicely performed on his second time of asking. Obviously count that death out, but that is a 126 metal, or 125 even metal harbor. Solid execution from jrk once again.
Absolutely, and you know, with all the struggles we've seen from Dwarf so far, he's not all that far behind.
No, not at all. You know, obviously there is basically the equivalent of about 80% of a full stage. But this is exactly what we want to see, you know? Stay in there, keep yourself about, don't get left behind. And just hope for a mistake. Oh, no. Well,
at least he got that checkpoint.
Yeah, not the worst time loss, actually. Could have gone a lot worse. Fortunately, he's taken a lot of height there and does hit that ramp rather than jumping over it, which is the faster thing to do. But yeah, that's precisely what it is. It's all about just staying in there, making sure you give it your best, and just hope things work out. You can only do what you can do at the end of the day.
Ooh, jrk is struggling with that first hit on Shadow 1.
Yeah, wow, I've only just noticed that. Around about 15 seconds in, and doesn't quite get the finish just yet. Still struggling. There we go, final hit, a 20-second Shadow 1. That will, perhaps again, provide an opportunity for Dwarf. A lot to do, but not impossible. Now we're going to see Green Forest coming up for jrk. Interested to see what he goes for. Obviously his time on the boards is a 24, which is a very respectable time. It's a time where we could see some interesting strats in Green Forest, whether it's wall run or whether it's something else. We'll see. Dwarf there coming out with a nice enough 145 metal harbor, not bad at all considering. Again, of course, counting an extra death, slightly longer than that, but 8 minutes flat on his timer, out of metal harbor and into Shadow 1. We should see actually how Dwarf has performed in his 2 games up till now. He did take a 41-20 against Matty XB and a 46-40 against Zane. So, interesting. I'm not sure if he's PB'd in this tournament.
Very strong loop skip from jrk.
Yeah, strong stuff already. Seeing that experience just pay off again. But yeah, I believe, you know, if all plays right, I think perhaps Dwarf will be playing for a PB here. Perhaps too early to say just yet, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Oh, we'll be seeing wall run attempt.
It didn't work out, unfortunately, though. As I say, I was expecting to see something along these lines. Now it comes down to the question, will he opt for a second go? He does.
Looks like it.
Bit low that. Didn't work out. Now he takes on the chin, and we'll just continue moving on. That spin dash not, or light speed dash not exactly what he would have wanted, but staying in the lead, jrk continues to just march forward with his advantage intact. There we go. Now we're going to see everybody's favorite bungee skip, as long as the cameraman's feeling nice and early clip over from the cameraman there. Good to see. Keeping up with our blue hedgehog. Yeah, we're seeing Dwarf on the right side also entering Green Forest now. Hopefully we see some good performances from him in here. I don't think we're going to see him go for any wall run attempts the same as we saw jrk. But jrk coming out with a 148 plus the change of that death as a result of that wall run attempt. Not bad at all. And now here comes Dwarf, trying to catch up. A little bit of misfortune there on that light speed dash. It can go wrong if you come in at the wrong angle. Not being deterred. Somersault there, going for the checkpoint. No problem with wanting to be as safe as possible. Better safe than sorry, as I say.
Will we see cold iron bars?
Oh, here we go. The topic of debate. jrk opting for the twin skulls check. I'm not sure if it paid off, actually. It might well have done. It has. Well, there you go. If you wanted an argument for it, jrk is just presented. Losing no time in that upgrade check, and coming away with the full benefits. This could be interesting. Suffering from a stuffed nose, piece free, a little far out.
feel like a lot of second skull from the top, fifth from the bottom. A lot of those tend to give suffering pieces.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with Pumpkin Hill set knowledge myself, to be honest, as I am on a lot of stages, but I know people like Tails and a lot of other members of the hunting community will have a deep amount of knowledge there. Obviously, Twin Skull's check paying off there. He hadn't gone for it, then that set suddenly turns from a 36 to upwards of a 40.
Dwarf losing a second or two to missing the gold ring at the end, but at least he lands it, and he's not far behind, all things considered.
No, he's doing alright. He's doing okay, you know, considering the level of cast presented to him. I think just in terms of his own standards, he's doing just fine. So we see jrk now entering Mission Street. We've seen some exciting stuff from him already. Obviously that City Escape skip was very impressive. And, you know, actually calling back to that, obviously there's a little bit more to it, but if jrk doesn't hit City Escape, this is a much tighter race than what we're seeing here.
Looks like jrk goes for the IGT manip, as Dwarf gets shitty plays.
Yeah, I've had some troubles with this piece in my time. I get told a lot that it is a great piece to get, but it's more so this initial first part, just getting into that slightly janky area where you've got to just avoid the stamina gauge.
I agree. I always tend to grab onto one of the bars when I'm trying to get in there.
Not a bad strategy at all. You see jrk here moving forward nicely. Not looking like he's on bad pace at all. Wolf just needs to grab that final hint, which will be king off the hill. That's unfortunate. Probably one of the worst piece frees you can get, just due to how far you have to go to grab it. Will take it on the chin and continue on though. As we see jrk looking comfortable for, or is he? No! Well, it can happen. It was great pace, but unfortunately for him, that's zero cycle gone, and it will be first cycle instead.
It did seem like he was breaking the speed limit there to get to his spot, but surprised he didn't end up opting for a pause hover at the end there. That would have given them that much more time, or that much more of a chance.
Yeah, quite right. Well, you talk about breaking the speed limit, but Tails is a one criminal, so I suppose that's gone out the window at this point.
We do like the funny number.
We do like the funny number. It's a very useful thing to implement when necessary. We see Dwarf here. I would be surprised to see Dwarf even go for zero cycle, which would obviously close the gap with the plan. But yeah, I would be incredibly impressed, if nothing else, if that did pay off. But it's not looking like it's going to happen here as he gets the crumbled floor there, which will mean he does have some trouble here with going for weight hop, because he'll have to hover, losing him a little bit of ground.
That was a little tough.
Doesn't even attempt the pulse hover, so I think he was aware. But yeah, you know, I don't think we've seen Dwarf get completely left in the dust yet as a result of him being in the same split as jrk on most splits. You know, he's entered while jrk is leaving, and if he can keep that up, then he's going to have a very respectable run on his hands.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't know if we saw any free pieces there for jrk as he enters aquatic mine. Does pull off the checks and gets at the bottom of the main pillar as his piece 1. The container on a shelf now, a nice enough piece to get. He just needs to make his way up to the top. Struggles with the wall run, will opt for the climb instead. And this piece really is nice. We could be seeing a good run from jrk here as well, in terms of combined knuckles, but it's dented ceiling, not preferable. But he's aware of the sign clip, doesn't get it first try, but he's out at the second time of asking, and he'll just make his way over there now.
I found him.
Not badly done at all. Seeing Dwarf just chugging along through Mission Street now. Coming up towards the final hurdle, he just needs to hover over this gap, which he does a little bit low, and opting not to go for the pause hover. He should still be okay. He is just fine.
Nice.
Landing a little bit lower than perhaps is optimal there. Still, not bad at all. And now coming up on Route 101, it's always a part of the race where I like to just sort of evaluate just how things are going so far. How do you think each runner will be feeling, and how are you feeling having watched this race so far, Liam?
Honestly, I feel like both are doing a fantastic job, considering, again, like jrk's been gone for a bit. And we see he's still playing up to his similarly to his old skill level, and Dwarf is actually playing pretty well from what I've seen him do before. And like we said, he's only a split away, or sometimes on the same split. I think we're going to see a PB from Dwarf, although I don't know exactly what his PB time is. And either way, it looks like a really exciting race, and both of these players are playing to their limit.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's great stuff from both. I believe Dwarf's PB is probably what he's gotten in this tournament, just going off of what we have on record. So I would assume it's a 41.20. If he keeps this up, he is definitely on pace for a very good time. I'm interested to see what strats he goes for in the certain levels, such as, you know, Eternal Engine, Crazy Gadget, and Final Rush. But
Interesting that we didn't see a reset from Dwarf without a ping.
Yeah, that's interesting given his knowledge of Knuckles. It's interesting to see they did opt to take it.
Doesn't land on the platform either to set up for the clip out.
Yeah, piece 1, which will obviously switch 1.5 is an interesting piece to get. He's not looking like he's got the worst RNG here in the world, but you don't really like to take Ghost Room piece 1s, just based off of how long it can take to get in and out. 35, that would explain it. We may have missed that there.
Surprised he didn't go for 3 fans earlier, but we still see solid time from Dwarf. Actually, 10 seconds, I think, on jrk's Aquatic Mine time.
Yeah, you know, if that's, I'm unsure. If that's a confirmed set, then that's a very good set, you know, a fan piece into Switch 1.5 and then into Ghost Room. That would be a fantastic set to get if you had the knowledge of how to execute it optimally.
Absolutely. It's looking like we do see that, based on jrk's time, he is now roughly 2 minutes ahead of Dwarf.
Yeah, but I think I don't think that's incredibly bad for Dwarf. You know, I think to stay in here, given the gap in experience and just leaderboard positions between these two runners, I think that's very respectable. I really do.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And you know, it's nothing's decided yet. We're only about halfway through the run now. Anything could still happen. So let's hope we see some awesome play from these players.
Yeah, it's great stuff. As we see, Dwarf, as we were sort of alluding to, Route 101, I've said it a few times, it's not a part of the race which is going to decide how things are going to go, but it's a good place just to weigh up just how things are going. And Dwarf, looking like he's just going to make his way through here as well as he can. Wing Route not looking particularly kind, but jrk entering Hidden Base now, not even attempting to go for the pole hop strat, instead flying through for GC skip.
He might be a little low here, unless he gets a perfect clip through. Oh, yes.
There we go, more of those, please, Dwarf will be saying. As you said, just a little bit low. No major damage done, at least not yet. But we'll be hoping that he doesn't get too many of those. Here comes the second attempt at GC skip for Dwarf. We do, as you said, tend to see... Yeah, right.
Yeah, good angle that time.
Obviously, the more height you have on that skip, the better. Hence why we see a lot of people...
Ooh, Dwarf with the spin out, just clipping that little corner. Oof.
Ooh, really unfortunate there. Doesn't want to spend too much time longer in Route 101. Nobody really does. Here we go. Dwarf opting not to pause hover there. That won't get him the height he needs. Interesting that we're seeing him sort of stray away from any unnecessary pause hovers. If he can avoid doing them, I think he will. Nice little thing there, that's interesting. Yeah, here we go. Dwarf coming up into Desert now. And again, another example of just staying just about within touching distance of jrk. jrk coming towards the end of Hidden Base. Now, roughly a few seconds away from doing so. And Dwarf entering the desert section. I'm interested to see how jrk plays this part out, because yeah, no pauses there. No pauses there. And there we go. Wow, very, very clean from jrk. Obviously keeping in mind that very one time save as a result of pauses being timed. Instead of opting for that safer strat, perhaps, of going for the pause hovers, he takes all three with no touching of the pause button whatsoever, and comes out with a very clean hidden base.
Absolutely. 150, not a terrible time at all. And especially with GC. And
Yeah, and
I
of
mean, there
course
is...
that death as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, interesting strat from Dwarf, taking a pause hover after hopping on the pots to avoid having to land on the cylinder.
Yeah, this is the thing I like to see from these slightly lower ranked runners, where you see a lot of unorthodox stuff, so to say, that you won't see higher runners do due to the level of optimization. But I do like to see people go for these creative things, which save them the time at this lower level. It's always interesting and nice to see. But no death here from Dwarf. So could this be one of the first splits that we see Dwarf take the win on? Would be fantastic. Opting to snipe these parts here to give him the opportunity to run over instead of going for the pulse hover. Again, more interesting decisions from Dwarf. A little bit of creativity on his end. It's good stuff.
I do believe, aside from Pumpkin Hill, the other Knuckle stages have been slightly kinder to Dwarf. Ooh.
Well, that's not the worst thing that could have happened, but well, I just want to make sure that he's not too trigger happy on that A button. But sorry there, go ahead and say what you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying that I do believe Wild Canyon and Aquatic Line were slightly kinder to Dwarf than for JRK, and you know, we'll have to see how the rest of this goes, but
oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
let's see.
As we
Map
sort of
Snakeskin.
alluded to, nicely done from JRK there. Fantastic stuff throughout Pyramid Cave here so far. Dwarf struggling again on these pulleys of all places. It's interesting.
This pulley actually has given me trouble to this day, and I only recently figured out that when I do my hover, I hold down, but the second I'm off that pulley, I let go and just neutral stick. And I now land on it every time, but if you're holding it the entire time because of the camera change, it'll kind of cause you to go in different directions.
Yeah, you kind of just want to let yourself flow over to that other pulley with a little bit of directional input as you make your way over.
Ooh.
Wolf just having a little bit of trouble here towards the end of Hidden Base. Should be near enough to the finish line now, though. Interesting to go for a pause hover there instead of just simply breaking the blocks. And now we see JRK entering Death Chamber, with Pattern Shorts being his piece 1. A nice piece to get. That is something which you can opt to go for Death Strats with. It'll be interesting to see if he does make that decision. We've seen him play for a lot of RTA time save initially. See now if he opts to instead take a piece 1 from core. It is a red room piece 1, which he will not Death Strat. He will simply make his way back over towards. Very respectable decision here. Accidentally, I believe, taking a second from there. I'm sure he knows where this is. Gets it nicely, and his piece 3 will be Wandering Ghost. So he's just gonna go for the normal route over to Green Hallway now. And he should be just about okay, coming out with a comfortable Death Chamber.
Uh-oh.
Oh! Well, we may have a bit of a problem on our hands here, JRK, because he has a little bit of a slip in knowledge there. There we go. Accidentally opting to go to Blue Room instead of Green Room there. Just a bit of a blip in the system for JRK. Not recalling the whereabouts of that piece. But he gets there now. 1:12 on the clock. And that could set up Death Chamber to be another split victory for Dwarf.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Oof. I think the camera was doing something funny to the Dwarf there, and it kind of turned him around.
Oh my. That's interesting.
I've noticed if my right stick has drift, it'll throw the camera around in weird directions, and it'll intentionally mess me up on tight input areas.
Yeah, it can cause problems. Dwarf here on
Dwarf with the clean. Yeah.
Coming up on second door skip. I don't believe he opted for the setup, which will mean that we lose him alone, so he's going to get a nice one hug there. JRK into Boom Boo now, the big Boo. Getting all the hugs today is Dwarf. Unfortunate for him. One hit on Boom Boom for JRK. We transition into a 20-second barrier now. Again, fantastic work from our tech team behind the scenes.
JRK with the recovery, though. He missed that last hit. Very tight input.
Obviously something you've got to be hot on your toes with if you're going to make a slip up in Boom Boom. You need to make a snap decision quickly. Whether or not you're just going to call it a day early on and go for a reset, or if you're going to stick about and see what happens. Super bounces on display here from JRK. See how well he pulls them off. That's one down already. Second one not coming quite so easily, but Poverty Bounce gets him up to where he needs to go.
And Dwarf landing in the pit. But I do believe that he learned how to do the super bounce out of the pit instead of opting to take the platforms as last time.
That's good to see. Just good recovery there from Dwarf. Coming up towards the end of Pyramid Cave now. And he's going to get into space on very nice pace, I gotta say. Provided these two bosses go well.
JRK with a really good 32 seconds out of Egg Golem.
Yeah, no, not bad at all. And we do see JRK enter into space with 2048 on his timer. So we could yet see a very low time here from JRK, depending on just how things are feeling for him, based on skips and RNG and overall execution.
Let's see what kind of pieces the Dwarf gets.
Ooh, water bug piece 1, that's a very good piece 1.
I suppose anything in Blue Room or Core is usually pretty decent.
He's going to opt a booty clip over, rather than simply making his way through Core. That's an interesting one to see, because of course you pass up on any potential free-piece checks. So we see JRK just struggling to get out with Bofa here, but does make it through now. I don't know what the opposite of Commentator's Curse would be, but, well, it seems to have done the job, as JRK now makes his way towards the goal ring. We've seen a few runners, and I don't want to jinx it. For JRK, but we've seen a few slip-ups right at the end of this skip in this tournament already. If Dwarf is going to get anything out of this in terms of numbers, then
what breaks
that's exactly what he needs. So he's through that.
He's opting to try to go. He's just realizing he messed up by breaking the box.
That's interesting there. I don't know if Dwarf
he's opting to death strat.
That's unfortunate. Lack of knowledge there on Dwarf's part, just costing him. And above Omochow instead will be his piece 3, which he will opt to go for the booty clip now. That's a real shame, because if he knew where that was, that could have been some good time save for Dwarf.
Yeah, I would definitely much prefer Wandering Ghost.
JRK lining himself up to get this final fall towards the goal ring. He's in where he needs to go, and he gets over there very nicely.
But it does look like Dwarf will take the Death Chamber victory. Even with the death, I do believe it was about 10 seconds faster.
That's really interesting, because both runners get the same piece 3, and neither one originally knew where it was. JRK, of course, opting to go over to Blue Room instead, and Dwarf just calling it quits with a death strat. And now we're seeing yet another RNG stage on display here. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. In front of the shortcut rocket. Here we go. It's on the right side. No ping for JRK, so no IL set. No free piece check either. Pauses to check which drilling tower that will be. Interesting that he did not for the free piece check though.
He's going to the... okay.
No, he nails it. He's used the pause menu there to his advantage. The lining up of the top of the T, I believe in tower, will tell you which piece that is out of the two. As we see Dwarf here getting through with a nice boom boo there. Not bad at all.
Very solid boom boo. Wow. Is this 2? No, what is it? What?
I believe it's on top of 2 containers. JRK will just make his way down towards now, or... yeah, or it's the tip of the arc, my mistake, a different piece.
I see. JRK finishes with the solid 55. Sub 1 minute meteor herd is usually pretty decent.
This is perfect.
That's probably the upper echelons of what you want to get in a hero story run. Anything beyond
Absolutely.
that, could spell a bit of damage, but jrk making that work. And now we're seeing Dwarf not opting to go for either of the bounce variations, I believe. Instead, simply climbing his way up towards the back of Golem.
He does end up making it in time, because that second platform doesn't always come out.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah, no, I'm correct. I don't think we've seen him try to line up any super or profit bounces. So just needs to make sure. He is going to get a decent enough time here as a result. Nicely getting up there. That's interesting. Where's he off to now?
Ooh.
Spin dashes around.
Very interesting strat from jrk where he lets Rouge come to him each time.
That's interesting. You don't tend to see that too often. You tend to see people just launch themselves above her and then do what needs to be done. But yeah, it's always nice to see differing strats in that fight. There's a few ways to go about it. So good stuff there from jrk, and we load into Crazy Gadget now. It'll be interesting to see if he can just keep up the pace now. Get through this seamlessly and hit a nice CGSS.
I believe, yeah, with the 24 time, we can assume that he goes for CGSS.
I would definitely assume so. Here goes Dwarf now loading into Eternal Engine. He's made it into space. Still on good pace for a PB as of yet, provided everything goes well. Yeah, okay, grabbing the checkpoint there. We'll see what he does. He is going down this way.
So
And
we will
taking
see
the
us
jump.
get in, yeah.
It's going to be CGSS. He's going for the spin dash variation, which
He's
does not work out first time of asking.
He's setting up very close to that death plane in the corner. That's a very interesting and risky thing.
Yeah, we're seeing Dwarf here going for Bofa, which is...
Dwarf is going
good
for
to see.
Bofa. I don't believe
Great
he went
stuff
for
to
this
see.
last time. Either that or I'm just
hopefully.
tripping.
I can't quite recall. I don't believe I watched either of Dwarf's matches, but if this is new for him, it's going to be a big amount of time save. He doesn't get out that time either, and jrk is still here in Crazy Gadget. That's another death.
For those in chat unsure, Bofa is a skip in Eternal Engine, where provided you line yourself up correctly and break both of the boxes, and let the top one push you out of bounds, you can just fly to the gold ring at the end of the stage, skipping pretty much all of it.
Eloquently put, absolutely. That's quite exactly what is going on, hence the name. But jrk is struggling with CGSS here a lot. We're seeing Dwarf here really trying to line up that skip. He doesn't get out, unfortunately, and he is going to just exit out now to keep those attempts coming. But jrk is really struggling here. Both runners hitting their own little block in the road at the moment.
Bofa is a little tricky when you're first learning it. It's not always going to be as consistent as you'd like it to be. Most
Another death.
top-level runners will agree that second try Bofa is actually completely free, because first try is just inconsistent, but the second try is a lot more forgiving.
Yeah, quite right. It's much more consistent. I'm unsure if I'm not familiar entirely with the details, but I believe some science was done. I don't want to sort of comment on anything that I don't have the full knowledge of, but I believe sometimes first try Bofa may just be completely impossible to get. So I think it really is kind of a coin flip as you load in. Whereas second try, based on how the boxes are loaded, that's kind of what makes second try a lot easier than the first try. We're seeing Wolf not give up here, but we saw jrk take a death there, sending him all the way back to the start of Crazy Gadget. Dwarf is not giving up at all here. He will get this skip if it's the last thing he does, and I can respect that fully. As we see jrk entering the CGSS area, but he did not quite get across there. That'll cost him a death and an attempt. Dwarf coming in nicely. He's just looking to line himself up, you know, he's approaching this like a golf player, you know, he just wants to make sure he's got the right lineup. He's practicing mid-run, in fact, I believe. He needs to make sure that he gets this right. Coming in nice now. Not quite working out that time, though. As jrk is through the CGSS barrier, that might be just enough, but he needs to land this now.
Let's
He does.
go, jrk. Good stuff. Good stuff. You love to see it,
Nick
folks.
of time. Saving it. Wolf, I'm really hoping he gets over the line here with Bofa. The sooner we see him get out, the better, because I do want to see him PB. But it's really interesting. He's sort of backing out of it as he approaches, sort of saying, no, I know this attempt isn't going to work. Looks like he's just caught in two minds on his way forward to the boxes. Didn't make it out that time either.
You're no match for me, you weak
Very unfortunate, but we're seeing jrk coming up towards the final hurdles now. Eggman, Final Rush, and Shadow 2. Let's see how well he pulls these off. Takes a hit there in Eggman 1, trying to get out of that way. Or in Eggman 2.
Yes, Dwarf!
Dwarf!
Let's
He's
go!
out of bounds and well on his way. Great to see. Fantastic stuff. He is cruising now. jrk enters Final Rush. He's going to likely take this victory very comfortably, jrk, but great to see there from Dawarfmaster. Tried to line himself up for the turn.
Did a really
Didn't
good
quite
job
work out,
with pausing
Go
in
ahead,
between
sorry.
the turns. Did a good job of pausing between the turns to make sure that he doesn't get too misaligned during this.
Yeah, and he's lining up nicely, you know, he's just making his way over there gradually. And yeah, this is hopefully going to work out nice. The last thing I want to see here, the absolute last thing I want to see is a fail at the end of the stage, because that would just be so cruel. So it's going to be interesting to see if he opts to go back in bounds or not. jrk opting for bounceless variant of Final Rush skip here. That should carry him over the finish line and up towards
Let's go,
a clean
Dwarf.
start here. He is going back in bounds, no risk involved here. Just
Good.
making his
Get
way
those
down
bumpers.
towards the goal ring.
Good.
Landing on that platform to give himself that extra bit of safety. And just going to town on these wall targets now. And makes his way towards the goal ring. Dawarfmaster is out of Eternal Engine. Great to see. And jrk is just finding his way down towards the goal ring in Final Rush, which should carry him into Shadow 2.
Can we get some more hyperclaps in the chat for both of these gamers?
Absolutely, let's get them going. Great stuff. And again, this is the thing, despite you know, a potential mismatch in terms of the gap in quality between the two, they've still put on a great show, both of them. Very entertaining stuff. But hey, it's not over yet. We could still see a 5-minute jrk Shadow 2.
Yes!
You never know. In front of the weight elevator, that's interesting to see Dwarf take that on 0 lives. He didn't want to exit out for any more time loss. He's just going to
No
take
problem.
that piece, which we see a lot of runners reset into Meteor Herd. Doesn't get the free piece either, but he's just going to make his way down now. And here comes jrk into the final split. Shadow 2. Let's see if he can get over here nicely. Coming out with a 28 time. A solid start to the tournament for jrk.
I'll show you the true power of chaos control.
Just needs to get these 5 hits.
Ooh,
First one is
Shadow-
done. 3 there. 4 on the clock. And there we go!
GG.
The ultimate light.
GG's to jrk. Taking his first victory in his first match of the tournament with a 28-42 time. Good stuff. Solid start to the tournament for our top seed in this group.
And Dwarf finishing with a 50-second Meteor Herd, slightly faster than jrk's time.
Yeah, that'll
Sonic,
take him into
I
the
did
Rouge
it.
fight now, and assuming this is his PB from his race, which saw him get a 40-minute 17 time,
Sonic!
we're gonna see, hopefully. Oh, my mistake, I'm looking at the wrong runner there actually. Dawarfmaster, who got a 31-26 minus. No, I'm still looking at the wrong runner. Completely ignore me. A 41-20. Assuming that is Dawarfmaster's PB, then as long as these remaining splits go well, we're going to see a PB from him as well. But yeah, great stuff. So, yeah, thoughts on jrk's run overall?
Honestly, did fantastic, and you know, won this race in the end, and we got to see a good showcase of his skills and how much he knows and where his struggles are, and it'll be interesting to see what they can pull out going forward with the rest of the tournament, as I believe this is their first match.
Yeah, quite right. It's good to see because, of course, you know, as we were saying before it started, he's got a little bit of rust on him from his time out. But we saw some good execution in places, specifically that CE skip early on. That was a really impressive thing to see. The thing that caused him the most trouble, and I think the thing that he's going to put his attention to in practicing between this and his next race, is going to be that that crazy gadget skip trouble, which really did cost him a much better time than what he's got on display here. So that'll be what jrk is off to in his meantime, I'm sure. Practicing CGSS, as we see Dwarf, interestingly enough, opting not to go for either skip. That's going to be CGSS and CGS off the table. We're going to see a skipless CG here from Dwarf. As I was speaking earlier with JW, everyone's current favorite IL. We're seeing a lot of activity in this stage at the moment.
Yes, I do believe both of the skips for Crazy Gadget are honestly some of the harder ones that newer runners should eventually learn, but it is very, very tricky for both of them. They're both very risky. There's a death plane you have to cross for both of them. One you have a perfectly timed spin dash jump. One you have a few more options, but you're still navigating between kill planes that you can't really see. And if you can get a tight skipless time and really optimize Sonic's movement, you can get sub 150 times for puzzle room skip on Crazy Gadget.
Yeah, you know, as a result of jrk struggles, this is probably going to be yet another split victory for Dwarf. So good stuff from him, and decent stuff in this skipless attempt so far. I think the thing about those two skips is just that they come at such an intimidating part of the run for any runner, but especially newer runs, where if you're on PB pace, the last thing you want to do is throw it away to something that's so scary potentially for anybody who's just getting used to it, you know?
No, absolutely.
We're seeing Dwarf come up to the finish line now, coming out of CG with a nice bit of execution there, a nice low spin dash, just getting off to the end now, entering Puzzle Room. We'll see which method of Puzzle Room skip he opts to go for, opting for the super bounce up this purple block here, which he does pull off, just needs to get this spin dash jump, and Dwarf is firmly on PB pace. Great stuff from Dwarf. So, yeah, just 3 more splits to go. And we're going to see, can Dwarf get his first sub 40 time? Very excited to see how that goes. Of course, coming up next, we'll just give you a little preview of what's yet to come on the schedule here today. We've got Blug up against Mikey in an exhibition next. And then we're back to tournament action for Draco against Face in Group B.
Ooh. Exciting old-timers in the community.
Yeah, don't let them hear you say that.
I was trying to think of the right way to say it.
Experienced runners, we'll say.
They've been around for a minute.
Yeah, but absolutely, yeah. The more Group B matches we see, the better, because we've only seen a few so far. It might even be 1 so far, so I'm excited to see how that gets underway. We've got a lot of exciting matchups in that group. But here we go. We're into the last little stretch here for Dwarf. He got through Eggman 2 with no problems whatsoever. Just going to see now how well he can get across this final stretch. Slowing down a little bit on that rail, but just gradually making his way down. No need to worry. A slow cruise through Final Rush here from the Dawarfmaster. Not taking that checkpoint, he's going to want to go back up and get that. No, he isn't. Is he going to opt for FR skip? He is. Lining himself up, trying to get that bounceless variant, and all of a sudden, the decision not to take that checkpoint is, or rather missing that checkpoint, is not so good for Dwarf. In fact, he would probably optimally just want to reset there, save himself the time falling down.
In fact, it might not be a bad idea to exit out for lives at this point, since we do know that Final Rush skip does seem to be a struggle for Dwarf.
Yeah, he's got 6 or 4 and a bit minutes or so to get himself out of the split if he wants to get that PB, which should be comfortable. But I think the last thing he wants to do is get a good final rush and then mess that up. So let's get a good final rush and then not have enough height, because of course that's going to be the biggest time loss. Is thinking you have it in the bag, but then just not getting it over the finish line. You're all the way back to the start. He is in fact opting to exit out for those lives now. And he'll line himself up for another attempt. Struggling to get onto this rail here, taking a spin dash there, or a light speed dash there by accident. Really hope Dwarf can get out of here sooner rather than later, because this has been a great run for him. Gets that checkpoint now, safety insurance, and he'll line himself up with 4 attempts also at Final Rush Skip here now, making his way towards that camera trigger. Didn't work out for him again. It's looking like it's going to be a tight finish for Dwarf if he wants to get this PB.
Absolutely. I'm assuming it must be the angle at which Sonic's being held.
Well, this is the thing about bounceless variant, which is a method a lot of runners do like to do. We saw jrk himself go for it on the other screen. But yeah, hopefully we won't see Dwarf sticking around here for too long. Going for another attempt now. Hope it pays off.
Oof.
Doesn't quite do so. This is really unfortunate for Dawarfmaster.
Absolutely. When I was first
Still got about a
learning,
minute 30 to get into Shadow 2 on that 39 mark, but sorry, go ahead there.
when I was first learning how to do Final Rush Skip, I had learned the bounceless variant just because I didn't find any other tutorials to make sense for bounce. And then I'd start having this issue. I couldn't keep my skewed gravity because you have to hold it at an angle, but you have to do it right after you jump off the rail. Otherwise, you do a rail switch.
It's looking less and less likely here for Dwarf that he is going to get over that finish line. It's really unfortunate for him because he has done very well here, but that angle is tight, but he might just about get it. He doesn't
He's
like
not
it.
feeling confident in it though. Oof.
That's unfortunate. That is probably going to be the PB down the drain. Unless he gets it first try here, I think that's his only real hope. But we'll just have to hope for the best. Let's make his way to that section of the stage nice and quick. Hopefully get a solid 1:30 or so time. And that would carry him in with a very narrow margin to get a good Shadow 2 and get that PB. But it's going to be really tight here for the Dwarf. It's now or never. So here he goes. Gets the jump off. And it's not looking superb here. Unfortunate. I don't know if he's going to opt now just to go for another death, or if he'll call it quits at some point. He's going for the death. Really unfortunate for Dwarf. But yeah, no, I think despite the fact that he's obviously finishing a fair bit behind here, I think full credit to him for putting on a show here today. I think other than this skip and perhaps Bofa, which caused him the most trouble, he has done very well. I think learn these two skips and we're going to see some great stuff in the future from this runner. I'm just wondering at what point Dwarf will opt to simply call it quits. And of course how much longer we've actually got left in terms of how long we can give him. Obviously we want to see him finish the round stream, but if needs be we may need to move along. Well, we'll wait for any official word from up on high on that. But Dwarf coming down here now. Don't quite know how long we have left on the schedule here or what the cutoff point is. That won't work either for Dwarf. It's unfortunate, but that we are coming up on the crossover for Dwarf's PB. It is gone down the drain, but I fully expect him to come back to this time in future and continue to shave it down. I've seen a lot of promising stuff here from Dwarf. That's a little bit nicer there, but still not working out. Dwarf entering Final Rush again once more here. Just desperately trying to get over the finish line now at this point. I don't believe we actually need to worry too much, perhaps, about cutting off Dwarf, as he does finally get the angle nicely. Good stuff there. Just needs to make sure that he collects his his seconds here now, and we should be okay.
Well, one beautiful thing about bounceless is there's a little, I'd say there's a little more forgiveness, because typically you have a lot of height coming out of this, as long as you navigate correctly. And it's looking like we've missed the kill plane, so that's very good.
Yeah, it's just a matter of height now. To get Dwarf across the border and into Shadow 2. Should be very close. But yeah, I don't think we need to worry quite so much about cut-off at this point now. Hopefully Dwarf should be getting through this nice and easily. Plenty of height to spare. And we'll cruise then. Yep, a lot of nice height there. Dwarf just needs to make sure that he uses this correctly. Maybe go for the pulse hover here. Don't think he needs it though. He should be just fine.
Aiming.
And there we go. Dwarf is out of Final Rush.
Any gamers in chat?
Are there any gamers in chat? I very much wonder. But here we go. We're almost there, folks. Dwarf just needs to take down Shadow 2, and that is that. That is his third match of the tournament done. And I gotta say, a good showing. I really do think so. I think it really did just come down to a lot of misfortune in those two splits, really. Final Rush and Eternal Engine. They caused him the most trouble. But here we go. One hit down. Comes in for the second, gets it nicely. Shadow there causing a little bit of problems, but that actual missed homing attack might cause a little bit of might actually be better out in the long term, because it means that he won't be stuck falling down there on the lower platform. The final hit here going to be a little bit harder to come by. It just needs one more. Trying to line himself up for this homing attack. Shadow's gone far out in front, which means Dwarf should just be able to chase him down. Needs to get that final hit, which he does.
Let's go, GG
Dawarfmaster.
Pulls it off.
GG's.
Let's
Finishing the
go.
run. Fantastic
Excellent
stuff.
work from both of these runners. And unfortunately, we are behind schedule, so we don't have too much time to wrap up, but fantastic showcase from both of these runners. As Seth said, up next on the match, we've got Blug and Mikey in an exhibition with Cryptic and your boy Tethys on commentary. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I'll be here for a while. It's been a pleasure commentating with you, my friend. Great stuff, great run, great performance from both. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a little bit.
Excellent. Peace out, guys.